at least twice a week I'd be told, go back to where you came from. Or
Politics here, it seems like it's a point of identity.
Here, I don't feel that way. Before I came here, I was like, okay, US should be a very fancy.
again, money. It's always a problem.
I got here, I think Americans are kind of self-centered.
That was a shock.
I'm looking to study abroad, and I've never studied abroad before, so I figured I'd ask people who have done exactly that. My university has over 2,500 international students. In this video, I'm interviewing 3 of them on their experiences traveling to a new country with new people, new language, new culture, and trying to better understand. We'll be exploring cultural differences and how international students feel about America. And these are the people I interviewed.
Hi, I'm Andre. I'm from Macedonia. Zdravo, ja sam Andre od Makedonije.
Hi, my name is Gary, and my Chinese name is Cao Jiayu.
My name is Quincy Mphatso Kachete. Dzina langa ndi Quincy Mphatso Kachete.
I was born in Macedonia. I'm Macedonian. You might know it as North Macedonia right now, but I prefer to call it Macedonia. Yeah, I'm from the capital city of Skopje. My elementary school, my high school, I even started college there for a year before coming over here. Not many people over here from there.
I'm from China, mainland, from Northwest. It's a pretty kind of poor place, I would say, compared to Beijing and Shanghai. I went to middle and high school at Tianjin, which is a city next to Beijing. It's very big city, and I studied music there since I was 12. And I was taught by my father since I was 8 years old because I wasn't a good student, for math, English, whatever, Chinese. So then my father decided to find another way for me to maybe to make a better future. I started to learn how to play drum set, piano, guitar, I just played. And then later on, I just practiced, and I found my interest. I've been playing drum set for 14 years already.
I'm from South Africa. That's where I was born. After a few years of existing, my parents got divorced when I was at like 4 years old, and my dad moved back to his home country, which is Malawi. He took me with him, and I grew up there, like a really big family with my grandparents, my aunties and uncles, and my grandma's friends, and all these other people. A very interesting experience for sure.
My native language is Macedonian. I only started learning English in the 5th grade, I think. But school didn't help me much with it. It was mostly cartoons and interacting with people from abroad, mostly American people.
I speak Chinese, my hometown dialect. It's called Tianshuihua. Yeah, Tianshui is my city's name. So Hua means dialect. And English, for sure. It took me so long to learn English.
So I grew up speaking both English and Chichewa. In school, they taught us English, and then when I would go home, my grandparents would teach me Chichewa. Both Chichewa and English, in some ways, are my first language, but I grew up learning both.
If I were a citizen in the US, I would probably not want to go to school. As a foreigner here, I think college is pretty important. Not having a college degree will basically not even put me in the job market.
I prefer to study at school, but I don't like the general classes, especially at USA, because some classes I don't understand. So I think my English is not that good, so then I'll get confused. Anytime when I try to do my homework, it's just very difficult for me.
School for me was and has been something that I've looked to as, a stepping stone to what I want to achieve in life. Like my parents are very big on, getting your education and that being a stepping stone to a lot of opportunities.
It's a smaller country, so basically everyone kind of knows each other. Either nepotism or a professor or a dean knows someone's parents, and it's not a fair fight over there. College seems much more fair over here. The only downside is the price of it. Some of the practices that stuck in Macedonia from the communist era are pretty good practices, and the things you learn over there stick with you for life. Over here, the first 2 years I basically took art, geography, earth science, taking courses that will literally never need in my life. That's the main difference.
I think the big difference is when you get to the college at US, you get extremely busy. But in China, it's a different. When you're at middle school and high school, you are so busy, extremely busy. But when you get to the college, you kind of just relax.
One thing I can think of is practical skills. I went to a school where like we learned carpentry, cooking, and I don't think schools here offer a lot of those. Cooking and carpentry seems like now a hobby that you learn. In my country, those are like life skills.
I left on the 25th of May 2019, came here on a J1 visa, and then I went back home on the 13th of August 2019 to Macedonia to get my new student visa. Came back here on the 13th, and basically college started 2 days afterwards.
This is my third year. Obviously, I'm a junior student. I came here around 2019.
I came to the US 2015 thinking that I would go back home. So my goal was to just come, spend some time with my uncle. So my uncle's my dad's brother. Initially, the plan was to just check it out. I got accepted into a couple of universities in South Africa and I got financial aid and scholarship. Ended up deciding to stay and I ended up here.
At first, it was kind of fun until I had to realize that I have to be an adult by myself. People here are quite helpful, so they've made it easier for me to adapt. My peers have been amazing so far, and I have no complaints about it.
I don't think so. I'm a music major. It's pretty easy for me. I don't think it's hard to leave.
Yeah, there were a lot of factors. So first factor, my grandpa was sick at that time when I was moving here, so I knew that his time was coming, so I didn't want to go far away, not be able to come back, which I mean, it happened. I ended up moving here and I couldn't go back when he passed away, so that was a difficult thing. And then the second, the education system is very different. I didn't grow up with a lot of technology on my hands. I went to a good high school where like we had access to computers. I learned how to use basic things, but technology is not a big thing. That transition was very difficult, and learning a whole different history of a country and even English was hard. I grew up speaking English, but I realized that like the vocabulary is very different. I'm like, oh, I shouldn't say trousers, I should say pants.
Before I came here, I was going to the England, and I got an offer from that school. I think it's a city called Leeds. It's a Leeds College of Music. I think it's 3 months before the school start. My teacher said, "Hey, you gotta go to the US." I said, "Why?" And he was like, "UNT is the best in the world, like for jazz." I was like, "Okay, I'll go apply it."
I applied for a visa in South Africa. The application process for a visa in South Africa is pretty cool. Initially though, it's a lot of like paperwork, and on your part you have to save up money for application fees. I got there, showed them my paperwork. It literally took like 5-10 minutes. The guy was like, "Okay, your visa has been approved." I spent one extra day in South Africa, got on a plane, and I had 2 stops. I stopped in Abu Dhabi and stopped in Paris. I think the layovers for both of those, one of them was about 6 hours and one of them was 8 hours. And it was my first time flying too, so.
The cost. Applying for the visa cost a lot of money. I think the price for the visa, just for the application, doubled. Went from like $200 to $400. And $400 is, I think, the average wage in Macedonia right now, monthly wage. That's quite a lot of money. Going to the embassy costs money. Plane ticket costs money. Tuition, books, dorm, meal plan. As a freshman, you have to stay in a dorm over here. Basically, the cost for everything was the biggest thing.
It's a blind school. They ask so much stuff. And also the English test, IELTS and TOEFL, it's a English test for foreigner speaker. You have to pass that to go to school.
Giving up like my dreams or like what I envisioned my life was gonna be. I had this idea that I was going to do my degree in South Africa, start up my own company. You know, I had this drive to, be involved politically in my country, help develop communities that I was involved in. And yeah, coming here inhibited me of that in some ways, in the sense that I cannot go home just easily. I still can like help communities back home, but it's not gonna be as hands-on as I wanted it to be. A lot of those goals and dreams just were not gonna be possible anymore, and rethinking what possibly my life will look like. Now I've known that there's some aspects of life that I cannot control, but there's still some that, like you have dreams that you want to achieve, and some of those I had to sort of like give up. That was the hardest thing of getting here, honestly.
Both yes and no. Making friends is easy. Keeping them later on is kind of difficult. It's not really that it's hard to make friends, it's just hard to maintain friendships. Basically, just the cost of everything is the main barrier to most friends. A standard of living is higher over here. Again, money. It's always a problem. Even, it's not just me. I've had this conversation with a bunch of international students, and they have the exact same struggles that I do. That's why it's been easier for me to make international student friends. The things they've gone through, the things they're struggling with over here is something I can relate to, and they can relate to me.
I think people are very friendly. I like people here. People are very simple. Just like, when you try to make a friend with someone, it's just very easy and comfortable to do that. You do in Asian country, it takes more time to.
Not really. I was fortunate, met with people that were like already there to make friends. I only had a semester of where like I didn't have really friends. When I really stepped out to make friends quickly, like I had a ton of friends in the first 2-3 months of me deciding to make friends.
Dating is not that different, honestly. The way you meet new people is kind of different. Tinder or any other dating apps are the norm over here. If you tell anyone that you met your girlfriend or boyfriend through a dating app in Macedonia, they'd give you a weird look. So that's been kind of interesting, but it's pretty similar after that. But it's campus, there's 40,000 students over here. You're eventually gonna bump into someone. You don't really need a dating app.
Dating? Yeah. I never did. I never did here.
It's something that I grew up being afraid of. Like I was like, if my dad ever finds out that I like this girl wanting to date, like I'm in big trouble. I think dating culture here is sort of like experimental. Date for a month or two, they break up. Really is very fast.
Having to deal with everything by myself, here it's basically you're just left on your own and you have to deal with it. And if you don't, you're kind of screwed. But you also learn a lot of lessons. At the beginning it was kind of hard because you're lost. You literally have no one here.
I would say it's all about a major. For my major, you have a weekly assignment, and also I study jazz, but jazz is not my traditional thing. It took me more time to get familiar with that. I was like super not comfortable with playing jazz. So for the first year of college, I think that's the very difficult part for me to just get into jazz and listen to jazz.
Yeah, not since August 2019. I'm probably gonna go back home in May because my passport expires, so I really have no option of not going back. That's gonna be my first time going back home since I've started college over here. I kind of miss it, honestly. At first I was excited to be here, but I'm like, I kind of miss home. And I have not left since I came here the second time on the 13th of August. Yeah, I was supposed to go back home sooner. Kind of got stuck here.
Oh yeah, I went back to China this summer. I went back for 3 months just for summer break. But I love China. It doesn't mean I don't like here, but Chinese food. I was in China for like 20 years.
No, I have not. I've been here since I moved here 2015. I wish I could go back, but yeah.
I can fit in. At first glance, I fit in well because, who would assume I'm from abroad? I'm like a regular white person, which is fine because I get accepted quickly initially. But as soon as they read my name or my last name, or if they hear my accent, kind of attitudes sometimes might change. People assume that I'm American. I have a lot of international student friends who are from Southeast Asia, who at first have a bunch of negative stereotypes that Americans know about them. And it's kind of to go through them first. They have to fight to break those stereotypes, to prove them wrong, then to introduce themselves for who they are. And I don't want people to think that Americans are like extremely judgy or xenophobic or anything. But it's much easier when they first assume you're American. But by the time they figure out I'm not from here, they kind of forgot about all the stereotypes and stuff.
Yeah, I think so. I got a friend in school and out of school because I like making friends. There's nothing hard part for me.
No. I just think there's just so many reminders of the fact that I'm not from here. When I open my mouth, people know instantly that I'm not from here, and it usually is a point of conversation, which sometimes I don't mind, but sometimes I'm like, man, I just don't want to have this conversation, you know? Being enrolled in school, I know for a fact that I'm an international student. A lot of immigration stuff, so that is always a reminder that I don't fit in here. Also, know the way I view a lot of things like politics, dating, all that is gonna be very different from a lot of people that grew up here. Politics is not something that is hugely emphasized where I grew up, and here it seems like it's a point of identity. I've had experiences where like politics has been really divisive in communities, but it's not been the main focus for all like 5 years of my life. Like here it's felt like that, like it's just been politics every single time. Those are like the main ones I think of. Yeah.
Classes especially, even classes that I'm interested in, like I love geography, I love history, but I didn't really talk in classes that much because what if I mispronounce a word and like 400 other students look at me? Hopefully the accent goes away soon. The longer I'm here, the better it gets. Even though I can fit in easier, I kind of feel bad about the people who either have stronger accents or have a different skin color, which might bring stereotypes on their own just for not being born over here. Even educational, especially in history that you guys learn over here is pretty different from what we learn. And if I give another point of view, people might think I was brainwashed. People assume that you guys learned everything the right way, and is the accent, of course.
When I first came, that was what I wanted to do. Like I would try to imitate different American accents. I was told, yeah, like the best way to like fit in is to learn how to speak like an American. I'm like, is there something wrong with who I am? But as I've grown older and I've grown to embrace being from a different country, I do think it adds more flavor, more fun to life. I'm really glad that I have a different perspective to life. I've grown. I'm still growing. I'm not saying that like I've fully embraced being an international student. There have been times like recently I've been looking for jobs, and my gosh, it's just been a reminder seeing a job telling you that like, oh, we don't sponsor international students, like specifically saying those things in a job description. Those are times where I'm really feeling low, but yeah, I've learned to really embrace that.
I told you that I first worked in Florida, which was in North Florida, which is, the more north you go, the southern it gets. So you kind of deal with people who have never encountered a foreigner before. At least twice a week I'd be told, go back to where you came from, or like, give me an American server who speaks American. But ever since I've been here, it's a big metro area. Dallas is right over here. Fort Worth has a huge immigrant population. So people have been much, much nicer. But I think where it's good for foreigners, it's like little pockets of the country. And you gotta get used to it because wherever you are, even just in European countries, West, East Europe, if you go work or visit Western Europe, they're gonna think, oh, you're from the bad part of Europe or the poor part of Europe. It's not more about the fear or disliking of foreign people. It's just like a class difference. And they think like, yeah, you're the poor people from over there.
I don't think so. At least my friend, I don't feel this way. For me, I think everyone is equal.
Yes, it's a thing that I'm gonna keep with me for the rest of my life. It allowed me to grow independent from my parents and my friends back home.
Yeah, I'm happy. It's just different culture. It's a way to learn different stuff, different culture.
I'm mostly glad. I cannot say that I'm 100% glad. I don't think it is realistic to say that like I'm 100% glad. But for the most part, I'm glad to be here.
I know they're proud of me for being here because not only am I the first one who has gone to college in my family, I chose to go to college 6,000 miles away from home. So I know they feel a sense of pride that I've successfully done that on my own. I also know they're scared. Is all the money they've invested in me, is it actually gonna help me live a better life in the future? But if they're watching this, I'm good.
They were worried because the most dangerous thing is COVID-19, and when COVID just happened, and no one wear a mask. They worry about, hey, just wear your mask all the time. Even though I already had a shot, but still, the cases is still going up. They just want to keep me safe.
It's pretty different from here, especially when it comes to food. Food is like a huge difference. Like an apple from here and an apple from Macedonia don't taste the same. So I'm gonna say stuff here does not taste good. Culture-wise, the difference in like people's attitudes. People here are much more talkative. They're much nicer. They're extremely helpful. I can only say good things about people over here. And people are like, how's your day? I'm like, oh, do you really care? Like, do I even know you? Which is kind of fun. I got used to it. I'm scared that when I go back home, people are gonna think that I'm annoying because I got used to talking a lot over here. But they've been nothing but nice to me. And like in general, they're very helpful.
Yeah, with the big holidays, the Spring Festival. I mean, yeah, China is a very big country. You can barely go wherever you want. You have to like have a car. In Texas, but in China, you go everywhere just by taking public transport. It's very convenient, especially in big city. Here, I don't feel that way. Before I came here, I was like, okay, US should be a very fancy country. And then when I got to Denver, I'm like, bro, this is a countryside. This is not even the city. It takes me 30 minutes by driving to just go to the Chinese market.
We do not have a lot of holidays. I wish we did. But we have like typical like Mother's Day holiday, country's independence, New Year's, Christmas. Yeah, we don't have a ton of holidays.
Portion sizes. We had a McDonald's and a large drink over there. In Macedonia is a small over here. So when I got a large over here in the McDonald's and it turned out to be like literally half my height, it was surprising. And the food, I gained like 20 pounds when I first got here. That's a lot. That's probably the biggest culture shock. And the other would be the way college works. Everything's online. You can register for classes online. You don't have to wait in a line or a queue. Back home, if I wanted to register classes in the college in Macedonia, I would have to wait for hours in front of the offices. But that's pretty much it, I think.
I got here, I think Americans are kind of self-centered compared to us. For me or my parents, we take care of others, but I kind of feel like my friends they just do whatever you want. They do whatever they want. They don't care like how you think what they're doing. But after 2 years, I'm so used to this culture. But now I have no problem with that.
Specifically Texas, I would say the commute. I didn't grow up wishing or wanting to like drive. When I came to Texas, seeing that like driving is like very essential, that was a shock. Just the transportation system was very shocking.
Yeah, the helpfulness of the people. Like if you ask anyone on the street randomly, they're gonna help you out. It's like a culture thing. But if you were to ask anyone anywhere in Europe, they would kind of, oh, look, give you a weird look. Why do you not know this? Why are you asking me for that? But here, everyone's been very helpful.
Trust. I don't say that in China we don't trust people, but here just easy. It's easier and take less time.
Arts, of course, there's still the stigma or thought of that like arts are not super important. And I know back home people are trying to push that like, hey, like those things are important. So I wish that I could take that. Like just the value of art in terms of like music or movies, all sorts of media, of how important they are to a culture. I also wish I could take how mental health is very important. I mean, I know that the US has come a long way to make mental health a norm as something to be able to like talk about and be honest with where you're at. Well, back home, that's like a taboo. Like to say that I'm depressed, people are like, you're just being lazy. I really wish that can change.
Stuff seems either fake or superficial. Yeah, people talk a lot and they're nice, but how real is the kindness? You say, hey, how are you? Like just another hello. But if you ask someone, how are you back home? It's a real question because you are interested in how you are. But here it's just like another hello. People like appearing, like to put on a show that they're having an amazing time. Last night was a movie. No, it wasn't. And I saw what you did there. Over here is just it's all about appearing that you had fun. There's a huge difference between having fun and making people think that you had fun.
Food, burger, Sandwich, man, I'm so tired of sandwich. Like, I just don't want to like Chick-fil-A, Burger King, the KFC, McDonald's. Why there were so many different sandwich stores? Food, I'm still not used to the food.
The pace of life, my gosh, it's just so fast. Just always on the go. Like I just feel like I'm always on the go. It's just so fast. And I know it varies too from state to state. I know like New York is like even faster. And I'm like, my gosh, it's just too much. It's just it's fast paced here.
Honestly, my family, what they've gone through, and I know all the hardships and suffering they've been in, all the sacrifices they've made just to send me over here. I either hope to bring them all over here so I can show them that a better life is possible, or I would like to have a stable job or a well-paying job and go back home and allow them to experience a better life and a life that they deserve. Because mostly my friends and family, if I could bring them over here, that would be amazing.
I don't know if you know Alipay. It's kind of like Amazon, very cheap stuff. Okay, for instance, you get a candle for $10 here. It's a $1 in China. Alipay.
Yeah.
Alibaba. AliExpress. You know, the price is just cheap.
Well, from my previous answer, just the pace. I really would want to bring the pace of life here in the sense that like I've learned to enjoy the simple things. Like I enjoy, spending time with people, spending time with my family. I wish I could also bring just appreciation of the things you have. A lot of the population in Malawi, not a lot of people are rich, but you appreciate the small things you have. There's for sure like aspects of consumerism, but here it's very big. Fast fashion, change of iPhones, but yeah, just really appreciating the small things you have. That's something that I wish a lot of Americans would do.
Getting to talk to all of these amazing students was a great opportunity to learn about what it's like to come to the US specifically. And they kind of pointed out things that I haven't noticed about the country, I was born in and raised in, things I just don't think about. And that was very interesting. And it was also a great opportunity to learn about the process of studying abroad and what it's like to be an international student. I'm really glad to have been able to talk to those guys and to better understand what it's like to study abroad as a college student.
Hey, shout out to my friend Jaden, and this is my first day met him, and he's very cool guy.